There we go.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Load Bearing Opinion Podcast. My name is Ryan,
And I am CJ.
and on this podcast, we are straight talk, no script, and no apologies.
No corporate fluff and no buzzwords. Hopefully, just some opinions that are load bearing. All
Well,
right.
welcome back. You are
Welcome
back with
back.
the high vis heavyweights.
That's us. That's us. Ryan, where were we at this week or this
Man,
past
this
week?
this well, yeah, kind of. I guess this is the start of the week, right? Sunday. So this past week, we had the opportunity to go and be part of this amazing conference. It's called Skills USA National Leadership Conference. It is amazing. I enjoy this every time. This time of year, it actually was a little earlier this year. The weather was super nice, which is
Man, it
usually
was
hot.
great. It was great.
It usually is very hot, or late June is usually when it is. But the FIA World Cup is
The
coming to
what?
Atlantis.
The what
The
World Cup?
did I say it wrong? The
Yeah, what? FIFA.
FIFA. I said
FIFA.
that wrong. You're right. My bad. FIFA World Cup. Apologies. I'm not a huge soccer fan, so my bad. The FIFA World Cup is coming to Atlanta, and so they moved it up. But this year, me and you both got to be part of this competition. This is your second year, right?
Second year. Yep.
I believe this is my third or fourth. I can't remember.
I don't know.
I think it's fourth. So yeah, it's amazing conference. This is a conference where usually it's high school graduates or 2-year college students are coming in to compete. And I would say it's also juniors in high school that compete. I did figure that out kind of this year
Hmm.
talking to some, because some of them get to go twice in their time. But these are individuals that won their state competitions normally in their respected skill or leadership contest. And it's anything. We were there for the construction, so we were there supporting the carpentry competition in the construction hall where they have team building, plumbing, HVAC, electrical, masonry, welding.
Welding.
Welding's like different though. They had welding sculptures. They had welding.
Uh,
I don't know. There's like 4 different welding competitions going on.
I love
Um,
walking through the sculpture area. They got some, man, these kids are just amazing, their
it's
creativity.
it's insane the amount of creativity these kids have. Um, and I think that was the main construction ones that I remember. But there's so many competitions. There was around 6,800 competitors there for the entire week, and that's not just construction; that's all skills and leadership contests. But the total attendees was around 19,000 individuals, and that's instructors, that's kids, that's or students, that's parents probably figured into that number there. But that's a lot of people to come together for something like this.
Yep, yep. And I think, it's really encouraging from my perspective because I hear so many companies talking about, there's a skills gap. We're having a hard time getting kids into our industry or whatever. But I think if they were to really focus on some of these students, I think they would have a much better chance because, talking to a lot of them, it felt like they didn't really have any other options other than to go into business for themselves. Did you feel like that? Like a lot of the higher performing students were, hey, I'm just going to go in business for myself. I think there's a missed opportunity there for companies.
But like the level of individual that some of these students are, though, I mean, some of them are going to do so much better going to business for themselves. In some cases, obviously, because like some of the carpentry students that I've met over the years, not all of them, most of them work for. Most of the ones that I've talked to are residential. Some of them are building higher end homes, not just like normal residential carpentry. They're building $1 million homes, custom homes, things like that. But then some of them do go in business for themselves, and they do really well. Take the guy that's going to the world skills competition, which is insane to
Mm-hmm.
think about in Shanghai, China. He's going to go do some Japanese joinery and some other, they said common framing techniques, didn't they? I don't know which country they're going to pull those from,
Yeah, some
is
of
what we were trying to
those
figure out.
some of those Asian joinery things, they were not common.
They're not common. They're not common. And good luck to that guy. But I mean, the level that these students are, because just from the opening ceremony that night that we were there, this is my second year going to the opening ceremony. Um, the students are so well spoken. I mean, like
Man,
beyond, there are some, they're comparative to some of the best, well, I would say some of the best professional speakers, and they're only 19 or 17 years old.
yeah. Now I didn't see any teleprompters up there,
I didn't either. And so one of
and
them messed up too. Like you could tell
yeah,
he kind of misspoke for a second, but then he caught right back on. He was good to go.
yeah. And these kids are talking in front of 19,000 people.
Yeah,
You know, so
it's.
yeah, whole group of them. Man, I
I don't
got
remember
some.
that dude's. What was that dude's name? Reed. I think his. I don't remember. Like part of his name is Reed. I don't know his last name, his first name, whatever. That dude was awesome.
I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him. Might be in some other industries that we're not thinking of.
I don't know. Dude's gonna be an announcer for something one day.
Yes.
But no, I mean skills
Monster
is
truck rally.
yes, that would be great. He would keep the crowd very lively. No,
Yes.
I would say this: the skills competition is always amazing to me, and if you're a young person out there listening to this, the opportunity that you have at something like that is amazing because you're in front of. If you're looking for a job, you need to go talk to everybody there.
Hmm.
We had one kid that come by our booth and was like, "Man, I'm talking to people here. I don't want to say I'm going to hire on with y'all because there's so many more opportunities." And I even think you had mentioned like, "Man, that guy's uh, a little
Cocky,
bold, a little
and it
cocky." And I'm like,
yeah,
"But man, he's just."
it ties into tonight's episode
It
too.
ties in a little bit, but that guy came around. He knew the opportunity that was there.
Hmm.
Take advantage of it. Go talk to everyone while you're there. All these people, and it wasn't just construction sponsors. There's agricultural sponsors. There's military. There's the manufacturing, Toyota, Honda, all the equipment manufacturers. I mean, they're all there, and they're all there for one to sponsor these competitions and help these students, but they're also there obviously to hire people. Now I would like to see the numbers of kids that get hired from an event like this, if there are, or how many there are that are getting hired after skills, for maybe a conversation with one of these people. But either way, there's a lot of opportunity.
Yep, and we walked around and we kind of promoted the podcast a little bit. Ryan held me because sitting here in front of a computer or sitting in front of a classroom, I have no problem talking, and
Yeah,
Ryan
let
can
me
attest to
explain something to everybody real quick.
it.
So if you ever meet us in person, you're going to have a little bit of a struggle with CJ's personality at first understanding it, because like you said, on a video or even in the classroom, CJ is this kind of, not, he's not really that extrovert, but like he can talk, and he loves doing it. You get him in front of, just two people in a conversation, just standing there having
It's
conversation.
like a cold call. It's
It
like a
was.
salesperson's cold call. We were
I
walking
was
up.
holding CJ's hand. I'm like, "Hey, my name's Ryan, and this is CJ. Tell them your name." It was like
That's
my 2-year-old. I'm like, "Nova, tell them how old you are." No, Jack
I'm CJ.
yeah. I work in construction.
It's
But no, we
true.
had a good
I don't know why.
but it was fun. We talked to
Yeah.
a lot of instructors. We try to go around and find instructors or parents to talk to, because I mean, our hope, we've said it with this podcast, is to hopefully help young people and help anybody that's looking to get into the trades,
Yep.
is
Yep.
what we're all about.
Yep. All
Well,
right.
awesome. So CJ, this week, what did you say we was talking about? What
So
was the topic?
we're going to talk about the ego problem in construction. And this one, when we kind of put our list together, this was my number one. And I kind of feel pretty strongly about this. And I've thought, we put this list together, what, I don't know, month and a half ago or
Month,
whatever.
yeah, it's about a month ago.
And I've been doing a lot of thinking on this topic because, you know, I probably should have done this before. You may have done this, but what is the definition of ego? Like, like what does it mean? Like, I'll look it up real quick. Go ahead and talk for just a second.
Uh, what is the definition of ego? Um,
So
what's your
this,
definition there?
well, this says ego, derived from the Latin word for I, broadly refers to your conscious sense of self identity and self
Yeah,
worth. So um,
I was
that
thinking pride is what I was kind of thinking, like having maybe too much pride or too much boldness, maybe. I
okay,
don't know.
all right, but I think when we talk about the when that topic came up and it just said the ego problem in construction, you know, there's two ways to think of that. There's two different paths to go down, and you know the what the first thing that comes to my mind is the older generation has an ego problem and they think that their way is the only way that something can get done,
That's one way.
right?
I would
But
say I would say that, and then, like, people that come into construction that think they know it all.
okay, so that's another good one, right? But then I think I think there needs to be an ego problem in construction. So I'm throwing you a curveball here,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, I see where you're going with it because there are I would say there are definitely times that I've seen superintendents that have, like, per se, when you say ego problem, right? The way that they run a job, people don't understand. Like, they think that they're just like, "Oh, this guy just won't let us get anything. He only wants it done his way." But the guy's built how many buildings successfully or
Right.
ran teams? And sometimes that ego problem is just this new members of the team coming in because this guy's ran work, right?
Mm-hmm.
He knows what he's doing. And you have this new team coming in and they don't want to get on board. And maybe they think that maybe it's an ego problem on both sides.
Right.
Maybe they think that, like, oh, this old timer doesn't know the new techniques and we know him better, but he's also the same guy that has built many buildings,
Yeah.
many projects
Well,
successfully.
and I think, you know, where I was kind of really feeling this out was, and the reason I say there needs to be an ego problem in construction is it, part of that is confidence. You can't have an ego problem if you're unconfident, right? Or
Mhm.
unconfident. Which one is it? Inconfident or
Unc
unconfident?
unconfident, I would think.
Okay. So if you're not confident in how you do things, then you're not going to have an ego problem, right? But you know where there is a problem is when people carry it too far.
Yes.
You know, and they think it's their way or the highway.
Well, and so one thing, construction attracts people typically that are confident, competitive, and have pride in
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And those are good qualities when they're used the correct way, right? Being confident helps you make decisions that sometimes are hard, but you got to make them. Competitiveness, helps fuel that fire for getting the job done, I think, keeps you motivated. And then the pride in what you do is the biggest part of our work sometimes. Is if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have pride in what you do, you're not going to do it every day, right?
And you're not going to
Um,
do it well.
yeah, yeah, you're not going to do it very well at all. So I think you're right. The qualities, these are all strengths. Those are all strengths. Um, but when it turns to ego, I think is where you're getting at it with when it turns to pushing those to the extreme sometimes and just pushing people out. And I think that, kind of going back to what I was saying, I think there's a lot of communication breakdown happens. Like I was talking about these, the older superintendent that's ran so much work and a new team comes in and they're like, hey, there's a newer, better way of doing this. Well, his way has worked a lot. Now, does that mean that superintendent can't communicate back and explain his way better, maybe, and explain to them how to, teach them some better ways? I think that's where we suffer sometimes.
Well, you know, and it, the hardest thing to kind of convey to everybody is we're on such a tight schedule. We're on such production goals we have to hit. There's not a lot of room for deviation of that. And when you're talking about a large scale concrete or construction company, they have bids and schedules that are based on experience. So if you want to try something new, then you may not have time for that, or it may push the schedule out too far. There's no way to justify trying something new at that point, right?
Yeah, and so something I just thought about because I've heard this a couple times now, and you actually deal with this way more than I do, is the new, what's it called? With the, like, excavators and dozers and stuff,
Oh,
smart equipment, machine
machine
control.
control.
I
Yeah,
don't know why I was losing that. I was wanting to say GPS, and I'm like, "That's not exactly right. It's
part of
machine
it.
control." It's part of it, but it's not it. So machine control. So and you can speak to this better than I can, but I've heard from several superintendents now that are like, "Hey, that was the first time I've had that on my job, and man, it was the best thing ever after they got it going." Now it had problems. It wasn't running smoothly. At first, maybe whatever. I've heard those issues
Can I
from,
tell?
different. Yeah,
Can
you
I
can
tell
tell
my
it.
story?
You can, but I think like that's something that like comes in. Everybody in the door is like, no, I've got operators that are better than that, and blah blah blah. But then when they actually use it, it's like, whoa, man, this really helped the job.
Hmm.
So, but I love for you to tell your story on that because that it is hilarious.
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it kind of quick, but a couple years ago, many years, well, I don't know how many years ago, but there was a project that we were getting ready to do in Gainesville, and it was a stadium. The VDC manager that I was working kind of close with had told me that they were going to go full three-dimensional machine control on this project. And I was like, "Oh, great! That's awesome! We're actually gonna." Because normally, what we had done up until then was dozer and front end loader, grader type work. We had
Mhm.
never really put it on an excavator, and I really thought that would kind of speed things up by throwing it on an excavator. So they had agreed to it. Great, no problem. So a couple weeks go by, a couple months, whatever, and the VDC manager calls me up and he's like, "Hey, yeah, they're going with a 2D version now." And I went, "What? Why? Why are we doing that?" So I called the superintendent because him and I knew each other, and I was like, "Hey, man, why are you going to go with the 2D instead of the 3D?" And he goes, "Well, I just don't feel real comfortable with it," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Look, man, if I and I probably shouldn't have done this, but I said, hey, if I can guarantee you'll get some real value out of this, can we try it?" And he's like, "If you guarantee it." I said, "Okay, I'll guarantee it." And he says, "Okay." So having to get the equipment set up, that's a long lead item, and working with the vendor, making sure all the equipment was ordered properly, and we had all the systems set up. We had to get an extra GPS unit out there and set it up. So it was going to come out on a Monday. So I traveled up there on a Monday and showed up on site. We got the GPS set up, and the equipment shows up. The equipment doesn't have any of the components on it, right?
Hmm.
So we're working, me and the field engineer that was there and the technician. I think there were three technicians at that point. We're working on getting this thing set up. We had to get it calibrated because it was a brand new piece of equipment. And I mean, we're measuring from pin to pin on the boom and on the stick, and measuring the bucket tilt and everything. So we're punching all this stuff in, and something wasn't. We got everything we thought calibrated right. We take it out to the field. We load up the model, and we start digging, and it wasn't working right. And we were waiting for one more technician, and he was coming from I don't know how far away. And I says, how long is it going to be before he gets here? And the guy goes, "Well, it's probably going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours." It's 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I says, "Look, why don't we just wait till tomorrow?" I didn't know that the superintendent was behind me. I didn't know that. So all of a sudden I hear, if that piece of equipment isn't working by the time you leave today, take it, put it on the truck, and get it the F out of here. And I went, I guess we're staying.
Yep. And
But
VDC learned about overtime that day.
yes, but the reason I tell that story is because after the project was done, or the excavation part of it, I went back up and I interviewed him on camera for this
Hmm.
development class that we were doing, and he said, the superintendent said that if he had known how fast that system would have sped his job up, he would have done it without even thinking. He said it was scheduled for, I think it was a 6 week foundation package, and they got it done in like 15 days.
It's
And
amazing.
I mean, just he goes, I don't have to wait on anybody. I can just keep digging. So yeah, I mean, something like that. It was a win, right? Not everything is going to be a win when you try something new.
Yes.
So I think that's a big thing where we have to understand that, and working with the people that we work with, man, it's awesome. We can have a couple losses every once in a while.
We
We're
can.
but we are winning quite a bit. And I think the ego part of that was that superintendent had already made the decision to cut that machine control equipment because he wasn't confident in it. And he didn't want to take a chance. And it took somebody else, kind of saying, yeah, we really need to try this. So,
And he wound up being open to it. But I think that goes to that kind of first point in my head is like people stop learning kind of when you just shut it down. I've been doing
mhm.
this the same way for 30 years. Why change? And when that happens, I think you lose the knowledge that you could pick up in either something new technology wise or a new technique, whatever that is. I think those are things you'll lose there.
And, there was no guarantee that he was going to listen to me. I was just taking a shot. I mean, so, for everybody out there listening or watching, take the chance, take the shot. If you think it's going to work, man, throw it out there, give it a shot.
Because I will tell you this, what I've learned with I guess people when you run across them that may have like you think maybe has an ego problem, way that you communicate with them is a huge deal. If you're not confident in what you're saying, then they're not going to listen to you.
100%.
And I
Yeah.
think people struggle with this. I struggle with this. I have issues with this myself. But when you are not confident in what you're telling them, and they can pick up on it, I promise you, because they are confident in what they're
Hmm.
thinking, right? So if you're not confident in it and take ownership of it, then they're not going to say yes to it. Period. If you walk in a meeting or if you walk up on the job site and tell them that like, hey, I think it needs to be done this way. I think your way's wrong. Well, you better explain why your way is going to work better. Because if you can't do that, then you might as well just turn around and go back and do it his way. I think that's just something you got to know.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the bad side of the ego problem, because I think there is a problem with ego in the business, and not just in construction, probably everywhere. But that's where my experience is, and where you just hit on a lot of it. Like you're gonna have problems if you have too much ego, having getting the buy-in from the people that are working with you. So how do you break that? How do you break into it? I mean, I just said the only way that we got that piece of equipment on site was I made a guarantee. I mean, I
I think
threw
that
everything out there.
I think what we was just talking about with being confident in going to that person and being, hey, opening the communication up, like, hey, I think there's a better way to do this, but having confidence and having something put together to show them, or be able to convince them of that it's that way. Also, there's uh this problem of another problem that I see. I suffer from this. I can do it faster myself
Yeah,
than
yeah,
yeah.
you have that problem.
I have that problem sometimes. It's just I've gotten better. It's sometimes though. But I can do it faster myself. When you do that, the team that you have on a job site or whatever environment you're working in is not learning how to do it. They're
Right.
not they're not learning anything from that. And that's something that you'll neglect development in those individuals under you. Yeah, you've been doing it for 30 years this way, but if you keep doing it faster yourself, as you say, then those people underneath you are not going to develop the way that they need to,
Right. Right.
or you're not going to give them the opportunity to on your
And
team.
I think leaders that can identify when they can pull back that ego
Hmm.
and let their people go and try something and learn from it, I think they're a lot better off. I think those leaders, they see their teams do so much more. You know, that's my opinion. I mean,
There's also the I think sometimes we have this as well as that's not my problem
mm,
because I use the phrase sometimes that's above my pay grade or things like that, and sometimes that's not the right way to look at it. Um,
there are times that that's the only way you can cope with things. I
yes,
I will
yes,
agree with that. But for the most part, that's not a way to get through something.
yeah. The whole we've done it this way forever, or that's not my problem. It doesn't work
Right.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You've got to find a way to solve the problem, and maybe that is getting past your ego or trying to find a way to work with somebody else's ego. I guess is how you can put that. Is that like I said, communication, working together as a team, all those buzzwords that we hear all the time. But it's sometimes as simple as that. Is like, hey, how do I come to this person and work with them?
Yeah. I think communication breaks ego problems a lot easier than anything else. I mean,
100%.
look at and I know you and I are kind of partial to the military, but look at tier 1 operators. I, they don't tell their teams how they're going to run an operation. They they all talk about it, and
Yeah,
everybody has a say in it. So there's no place for ego in something like that. And if you can run your crews that way, man, I think it'll save you so much headache. One, it gets you buy-in. If everybody's bought in on an idea, then everybody's going to try their hardest to make it work.
gonna
And
motivate.
and
It's
if
that
it doesn't,
competitive nature.
yeah, and if it doesn't work, then you've tried everything you could. Now it's time to switch, and everybody's brainstorming, trying to figure out the next thing. So I think communication is a huge break of the ego problem. I think
I
it'll help.
think I think the other things to help beat the ego problem is obviously, you know, best leaders, and this is just some of the best qualities, right? Is they admit to mistakes quickly. One, they can admit to the mistakes they've made.
Hmm.
Is that not seeking advice from your team and just doing it your way? Well, you gotta take ownership of that and go, hey, how do we work better as a team? Um, Obviously asking questions and seeking feedback, all those things are part of that, right? And then giving credit away. I think that's one of the big ego problems that people instantly key on is that this guy is acting like he's building this building himself or something like that. Um, and you have to be willing to go, hey, look, just because my idea won at the end of the day and we did it my way doesn't mean that it was because of me that got done.
Yeah.
If you're
Now, now, if my granddaughters are listening, just so you 100%, I built every building by myself. No help from anybody. Everyone that I've showed you, those are the ones I did all by myself. So just, yeah, Ryan, just make that clear.
Yeah, yeah. Just like my son when we come back from Nashville and somebody asked him what his dad does, he goes, "Oh, he's built all the tall buildings in Nashville." And I'm like, "That's no, that's not true." Thank you for the encouragement or the bragging, I guess, but no, that's not it at all. But I
So what
think
else?
Well, so let's look at it from this light. So, um, for the individual coming in, if it's an apprentice, if it's a new person in construction, what's some ways you think we've kind of talked about them already a little bit, but what's some things to give them they could help with this? If they got a person maybe that has an ego on the job, or maybe to keep them from having an ego.
Well, we've met a few kids this week that um, I think are overconfident, right? And I think that can hurt you when you first come in. It's not the person that's been doing this for 30 years. If they have an ego problem, look, they got an ego problem. They're still building stuff, right? They're, that's not going to change, even if somebody brand new comes in. But the new person, the person with the least amount of experience on a crew or a project or whatever, if they come in overconfident, they might get somebody hurt because they just don't have the range of experience,
This is
right?
true.
And they're maybe they're not looking at the big picture. So uh, that to me, it's a pretty important distinction, right?
Yeah, and I would say this because I've always been not in these exact words, I guess, but growing up, this was what I was preached to is the moment you know everything is the moment you stop growing
Yeah.
and developing any skill that you have.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good one.
is the moment you know everything is the moment you will stop growing and stop being able to develop any skill. And I think that's a big one for somebody, especially starting out. Is if you come in, even if you've done that job once, let's say you did a whole project with a team, and you'd already done a concrete frame or went through the whole process, right? When you go
Hmm.
to that next job, somebody else may have a better way of doing it. You have to be open
Yeah.
to seeing that.
Yep.
And does that mean that you still can't give ideas and things like no,
No.
no, but you do have to step back and go, "Hey, this is a new team that I'm working with. Are they doing it now?" If it's completely wrong, hey, somebody's got to have an ego
Yeah.
problem in that situation. That's just
Yeah.
somebody's got to fix it, right? But I think coming in though, if you take all that out of it, is you have to be willing to listen to other people and go, "Hey, I see what your idea is. Here's my idea, maybe to make it better, or let's roll with yours and see how it goes, and then we can adjust as we need it." Because flexibility is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even though we plan in construction, we plan the crap out of a job or plan anything that we do, right? The plan always changes.
Yep.
There's Have you ever been on a job
Nope.
that you've built the plan, you worked the plan, and it just successfully went with no flexibility? No.
Never. Never.
And if you out there have done that, please
Yeah.
give
Sure.
us give us give us that. Tell
Tell
us
us
that.
some examples.
Now,
I want
obviously, I'm not
to.
saying that like we don't need to plan jobs. You have to plan jobs. I'm just saying that no time have I been part of any project that's like, hey, we planned everything to a T, everything went smoothly, everything went designed the way it needed to. There's not one out there.
No, we got to be able to pivot. And so this is kind of funny. When I first started dating Lynn, she was a general manager of a hotel, and her director of sales, when she found out that she was dating a construction worker, oh my God, what is it, clutch your pearls? Oh my God, why are you dating a
Clutch your
construction
pearls.
worker?
That's my wife says that. Is that not an older phrase? That's a half a
It's.
century
I
like
think it's
age
coming
group.
back. I think it's
Is
coming
it?
back.
Is it?
Yeah. Uh, but she said, "Oh, how could you be dating a construct? He's just a dumb construction worker." And when she when she finally told me that, I thought, you know what? I I think that construction workers are probably some of the most fluid. What is it called when you have fluidity in your brain? I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, I know, I know it's.
I'm kind of lost there. Fluid. I
But
mean, I think
you're
you have
able
fluid
to you're
around your
able.
brain.
Yeah, well, I hope so. But
I hope so.
you're able to adapt to change, and
Yeah.
you can problem solve. You know the and don't well or do throw some comments down there. If you're on a manufacturing line, you're doing the same thing day in day out. piece after piece, whatever, whatever. You're not practicing change. You're not practicing adaptability. You're not practicing problem solving unless something goes wrong. In a manufacturing plant, the odds of something going wrong are a lot less than when we're working outside with cranes and heavy equipment and people that are, you've got between 20 and 200, 400, 600 people walking around that same operation going on. Something's going to go not to plan. So I always said that construction workers are great problem solvers.
Yes. I,
So
I would say because there was this, misconception that construction workers are the bottom of the barrel. Um, that's what you get, and they learn to build things, but that's not true at all. Like
mm-mm.
some of the smartest people I've ever met work in construction, and it's not the guys with 4-year degrees. It's some of them hadn't even finished high school. And I'm not telling people not to go finish high school. You need to finish high school, do what your goals are in college if that's what you want to do. But like some of the smartest people that I've met are individuals that work in the trades that never got the school way, never did like the books, anything like that. Or maybe they did, but it was just later in life as far as learning goes. But they were really good at solving problems, critical thinking, these things that aren't even taught anymore in some cases, in some colleges and things like that is what they learned by coming into the trades and going, hey, how do we fix this problem? And they have come up with some of the best solutions,
Yep. Yep.
and it's lived on through generation after generation of workers. And I think that's, to me, that's one of the things I think is the biggest misconception is like, hey, the construction workers are dumb or whatever, they're not smart. You're talking about some of the smartest people that
Yep.
work in the construction industry.
Who's the leader of the NC, or not, the National Leadership Skills? What was that lady's name that was talking at the opening
uh,
ceremony? Can't remember.
Shelly.
I'm horrible with names. If I
I
met you
know.
this week, I
Hold on, I'm gonna look it
apologize.
up because I can't remember.
Well, while you're looking it up, I'll tell everybody what she said. They talking collectively to everybody there at the opening ceremony, all 19,000 people. They are professionals, and it doesn't matter. You don't have to have a 4-year degree to become a professional. If you're in the skilled trades, you can be a professional, and that is going to help you and carry you throughout your career. You're gonna go places if
Shelly
you
Travis.
Shelly Travis. If you're gonna just carry yourself as a professional, electrician, plumber, rod buster, doesn't matter what you are, but you can use that carriage, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, that's the other side of it. You just talked about a big point there. I think that sometimes an ego problem is like the trades are always been this rough, tough group of guys, right? And
mhm.
and that's never going to go away. And that's just who we are as the trades. But there's a level of professionalism though on the job that I think we can all achieve. Of obviously being prideful about what we do. Taking
Mhm.
if you don't love this, because I've worked with people that complain constantly.
Mhm.
Every day it's hot, every day it's cold, every day it's long hours, the fatigue. We're going to talk about that some next week in our next episode. We'll talk about later, but all of those things come up and people complain about it, and it's like, man, that's what this is. That's what this life is. If you're in the trades, and that's what some of it for me is just always been like, hey, this is why I want to do it, because it's ever changing. Every day is different.
Mhm.
It's always hard. It's always competitive. One of the things that I loved doing in high school was playing sports. And I loved it because we all worked together. We were a team environment, and you had to be competitive with each other. Every day was different. Every day somebody failed and every day somebody got better.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of what drew me to this life is seeing it, one, because I grew up in it and it kind of matched that whole of what I wanted to do is be working with people that were always competitive and always just kind of thriving and trying to find better ways to do things. And so I think that 100% is something you need to know coming in. And if you don't like it, then maybe it's not the industry for you. And that's okay. There's plenty
Yeah.
of other things to do and be successful. Success
Yep.
is not measured by things you do so much as I think qualities that you achieve in your life and put things first.
Man, if you love what you do, that's success. You know, if you
100%.
if you go to work every day hating life and you don't want to be there and you don't want to do that and oh, I got to do this again, man, find another job. It,
Exactly.
if you can find joy in what we do, man, there's nothing better. I fucking love what I do. I lo- I loved what I did when I was out in the field. The only thing I don't get to do anymore is see anything get built. You know, I get to look at it in pictures and videos, but
I was about to say we go to a job now and it's like, oh, they're in foundations. We go back a few months later and it's like, oh, the building's done or the
yep,
the structure's done. It's like, well, crap, I missed this whole part of it.
yep, yep.
But hey, I mean, I think the ego thing coming in as a young person, I would tell you to be careful. Always be willing to learn. We've talked about that before, but don't come in thinking you know it all. And those individuals out there that are 30, 40 years deep in this, CJ can talk to you better because you're probably listening to this guy over here going, he's a young guy. Don't listen to him. But
Well,
I
then let
think
me say it. Let me say it then.
you say it
Listen,
then.
listen to your people. Don't be afraid to try something new. Give them guardrails. You know, say, okay, we can try this, but we have to do it this way because you see the bigger picture. You've got the experience, but don't be afraid to talk to your people.
And that's something else. The big picture that you have in your head, paint it for your people.
God, that's awesome. Can I
I've been thinking about that a lot here lately.
paint it?
And I think in my role as a leader now is I have this picture in my head of something, and I'm not how you paint it for your people is the most important thing. If you're just putting a blank canvas on the wall and telling your people that there's a picture of this what you want in your head, but you're not explaining it in detail, be Bob Ross. Be Bob Ross.
That,
Paint
that
the
is
picture.
that is probably one of the most profound things I've heard in a long time. That's a really awesome
Well, I'm
thought.
glad we got it recorded because I'm probably going to forget it after this. But no, seriously though, I mean, like this is something I've been thinking about. I'm going through a leadership class right now, and it's something that I've really got a lot out of. One of the things that sometimes I think, like, you get started in a class, you're like, oh gosh, I got to go through and read all this stuff. I've probably read this before. I'm trying to tackle it different this time. I'm trying to spend a little bit more time on it, dedicate time to it, and so that's something I've been thinking about this last several weeks. Is you as a leader, you have a picture in your head of what you're trying to do with your team, with your project, with whatever you're talking about, and if you don't paint the picture for them or help them paint the picture or give them your picture, however I'm trying to say that, you've got to be able to do that. And how you do that is the most important. It can come out as a stick figure drawing. That's probably not that good. Paint it as that beautiful scenery and give them that picture. If you just give them a blank canvas and hold everything back from them, you're not giving them anything to go.
All right, so you heard Ryan. Everybody give your people some paintbrushes tomorrow.
And maybe that's not the best way to put it, but that's just in
No,
my head right
no,
now.
I tell you what, that is an awesome thought. I mean, paint the picture for your people. That really is a good thought.
And
I
that does
mean,
not mean do the work for them. That's not what I'm saying in that, because I know we talked about that struggle earlier. That is not meaning do the work. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you don't even give them the ideas in your head, then they don't have anything to go off of. And you're just telling them to do things your way, and you're not giving them, that's not giving you buy-in, that's not giving you the culture that you want on your team. And I know some of those, I know we talk about corporate buzzwords in the beginning, but that I don't consider that corporate buzzwords, even though that gets used in the corporate side. I think those are simple things that each of us could do as leaders and it be impactful to the people around us.
tell you what, one corporate word is going to be soon.
What?
Paint it, because somebody's going to hear that and go, "Oh, we need to use that."
Somebody's probably already said that before. I don't know, but I'm sure somebody said that before, but remember,
All
happy
right,
mistakes.
so yep. Let's wrap this up. We've been going for quite a while, so if you're coming into the trades, be open to the larger ideas. Listen to your. I'm going to say your elders because I am an elder. I can say that.
You are
Uh,
an elder.
listen to people that have been doing this for a while. They may have some different ideas, not the right way. There is no right way to do this. There are just some different ideas and different paths to go to get there. And if you've been doing this a while, fucking listen to your people, man. Don't be don't be the one person, don't be the gatekeeper for the completion of the job. And like Ryan said, paint the picture. You know what it's supposed to look like, paint it for them so that they can understand what they're going to be doing.
That's it. That's
All
it.
right. All right.
Well, hey, next
That was
week,
a good one.
next week, we are going to be talking about burnout in the trades.
Burnout
I
in the trades.
And I think just to kind of intro this a little bit, we've talked to some apprentices. We've talked a lot about, kind of qualities that we want or that you would want from anybody coming into the trades. I think this one, we're going to focus more on like the things that we sometimes burn out on. Is maybe it's the long hours, fatigues, and things like that. Because, yeah, we talked a lot about the intro into the trades, but we hadn't talked about some of the real life to the trades, and those are things that we need to discuss. We talked a little bit about the money side of it, financial side of it, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, but now it's more on the side of like, hey, these are things that can wear you down and can make you want to quit this life, and some or quit this trade being in the trades life. And I think it's important things to talk about to help maybe encourage and help you find ways to kind of cope with it and deal with it and get past some of them.
Awesome. Sounds great. All right. Well, you have the high vis heavyweights. God, I wish that would have come out smoother. You have the
It did
high
not.
vis heavy.
Are you having a stroke on that side of the mic?
I might be.
So, Ryan has not had a stroke tonight, which is amazing because I think I have one stroke per episode.
You've been doing really good, and I can. Okay, would you say it for me, please?
What was you trying to say? I never got
The
what you.
high vis heavyweights
Oh,
are leaving.
oh, well, you had the high vis heavyweights here. Hopefully, you tune in next week for another great episode.
There you go.
Hey,
Make sure
also,
to smash that subscribe button, and
yes,
I am tying it into Spotify. So if you prefer to listen to your podcast on Spotify, that should be available shortly. We still have YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
yes. And one thing, real quick, because we we talked to a lot of people this week at Skills about the podcast, and a lot of people were very, like, "Hey, that's awesome, man. We would love to listen to it." Hopefully, they're tuning in. But if you love it, if you're liking this, one, obviously, tell us about it, give us feedback. But two, try to share it with people. We're not trying to be Joe Rogan or Sean Ryan or any of those podcast people. We're really not, but we do want to try to get this out there,
Mm-hmm.
and hear feedback from people. That's the load bearing opinions is we have load bearing opinions, but we want to hear your opinions as well, and hopefully we can get it out to people and get things flowing. That maybe the comments help people more than our podcast. I don't care which one it is, but I want to help people and I want to encourage people in this industry.
And if you do comment, I promise you we will reply.
Yes. I've been doing a bad job of that here
There's
lately.
only been one.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Love you, Jaden. He'll know he'll know.
All right. Y'all have a great day, and
See you next week.
see you next time. Later.